Hello everyone and welcome. Today we are tackling a huge topic in economics, something I can guarantee you'll see on your exams: supply schedules and supply curves. We're going to break this down piece by piece so you can feel totally confident. Let's get right into it. First off, hello, I'm Rachel and it's great to have you here. My mission is pretty simple. Every single week, from now until your exams, I'm going to be right here with you, helping you master economics for your WAEC, JAMB, and NECO. And hey, before we really dive in, a quick tip. If you want daily practice with explained answers, which is honestly one of the best ways to prepare, head over to examkp.com. It's a fantastic resource. All right, let's get started. Okay, so first things first. Before we can even talk about schedules and curves, we have to understand the basic rule that everything is built on, and that is the law of supply. So what do we actually mean by supply? Well, it's not just about how much stuff exists. In economics, it's very specific. It's the amount of something that a producer is both willing to sell and able to sell. You see, both of those words are absolutely key. And that little Latin phrase at the end, ceteris paribus, don't let it scare you. It just means all other things being equal. We'll see why that's so important in a bit. And this brings us straight to the law of supply. Honestly, it's pretty intuitive if you think about it from a business owner's perspective. Their goal is to make a profit, right? So if the price of what they're selling goes up, what are they going to do? They're going to want to sell more of it. It's a direct relationship. As the price goes up, the quantity they're willing to supply also goes up. Simple as that. Okay, so we have this law, but how do we actually see it? How do we work with it? Well, economists use two really simple but really powerful tools: schedules and curves. Let's break them down. The first one is a supply schedule, and really it's just a table. That's it. It's a neat, organized way to list out exactly how many units a producer wants to sell at a bunch of different prices. For example, look at this table for bags of rice. You can see it clear as day. When the price is low, at 500 naira, producers are only supplying 100 bags. But when that price shoots up to 2500 naira, boom, they are ready to supply 900 bags. You can literally see the law of supply in action right there in the numbers. Now, this is where it gets cool. We can take that exact same information from the table and turn it into a picture. This is the supply curve. We just plot the points with price on the vertical y-axis and quantity on the horizontal x-axis. You connect the dots and you get this, a curve that slopes upwards from left to right. That upward slope is the visual signature of the law of supply. Okay, so we have a change in price makes us move along the curve we already have. But what happens if something else changes, something that's not the price? Well, that's when the entire curve moves. Now, this idea of a shift is so important, and it's a favorite for examiners. So let's really focus here. This table shows the difference perfectly. A movement is when you just slide up or down the line that's already there, and the only thing that can cause that is a change in the product's own price. But a shift, that's when the whole line jumps to a new spot, either to the right or to the left, and that's caused by a change in any of those other things we mentioned earlier. So, what kind of things cause a shift? Well, think about the cost of making the product. If the price of inputs like fertilizer for a farmer goes down, they can afford to supply more rice at every price level. Or what about a new machine, an improvement in technology? That makes production more efficient, so they can supply more. Things like government subsidies, good weather, even the number of sellers in the market, all of these can shift the entire supply curve. All right, before we test this knowledge with some real exam questions, I want to point you to a really powerful tool. If you are preparing for JAMB, WAEC, or NECO, and you want to increase your chances strategically, Sure Banker is your advantage. Access it now at www.examkp.com/surebanker. Pass with confidence, study with intelligence. Okay, you ready? Let's see how this stuff looks on an actual exam, because let's be real, theory is great, but applying it is what gets you the marks. So let's walk through some real past questions from WAEC, JAMB, and NECO so you know exactly what to expect. Okay, here's a very typical WAEC style question. It's got two parts. Part A is asking for definitions and, crucially, illustrations. Part B is asking you to explain how one of those shift factors, technology, works. So here's how you get full marks. First, you define them clearly. Schedule as a table, curve is a graph. Second, and I can't stress this enough, you must illustrate. Draw a little table and a simple labeled graph next to it. For part B, you explain the logic. Better technology lowers the cost of production. That's the key phrase. And because it's now cheaper to produce, they can offer more at every price level. The result? The entire supply curve shifts to the right. All right, let's switch gears to a JAMB question. These are usually multiple choice, testing your core understanding. This one asks a very fundamental question. Why does the supply curve slope upwards? Take a second, look at the options. What's the basic reason? And the answer is D. It's that simple. The upward slope is just a picture of the law of supply. The higher the price, the more producers will supply. And here's a pro tip for you. JAMB loves asking this. It's a fundamental check. When you see a question about the slope of the supply curve, always look for the answer that describes that direct positive relationship. And finally, let's look at a NECO style question. This is a great one because it's very direct. It asks you to explain the law and then list 3 of those shift factors we talked about. To nail this, you just follow the instructions. First, you state the law of supply perfectly. Then, you just list 3 different non-price factors. You could mention a fall in production costs, favorable weather, a government subsidy, any 3 from our list. For bonus points that really show the examiner you know your stuff, mention the direction of the shift. In these examples, they all cause a rightward shift, which means an increase in supply. Wow, okay, we have covered a ton of ground. So let's just take a deep breath and do a super quick recap of the absolute essentials you need to walk away with. Okay, let's lock this in. A supply schedule, that's your table. A supply curve, that's your upward sloping graph. The law of supply itself, higher price means higher quantity. Remember, a change in price only causes a movement along the curve. A change in anything else, those non-price factors, causes a shift of the whole curve. And I've got a little memory trick for you. Just think of the word SUP. S-U-P. Supply slopes up because producers chase higher profits. Got it? And for strategy, in WAEC and NECO, you have to draw and label your diagrams. It's easy marks. And in JAMB, be so careful. They love to try and trick you on the difference between a movement along the curve and a shift of the curve. And that is a wrap for today. If you found this helpful, please do me a huge favor and like, share, and subscribe so more students can find it. And don't forget to visit www.examkp.com for way more practice questions. Keep up the great work. You are doing awesome. And remember, you've got this. I'll see you in the next one.